J.D. Larkins and Company's Elite Toilette Soap. The perfection of toilette soap. A fine handkerchief in every 25-cent box. A fine Japanese silk handkerchief in every box of the Elite Toilette Soap. 25 cents per box of 3 cakes. To card collectors. There are 6 designs in this set. We send the full set on receipt of 3-cent stamp. J.D. Larkin and Company, Buffalo, New York. Continental Union Telegraph Company, Telegram. Sent by M.C., received by A.G. Time 5:33 p.m. December 13th, 1884. Chicago Railway Station, Chicago, Illinois. To Agent Bill Pinkerton. Bill finally caught stars at mouth of 9 Mile Canyon. Told them what I know. They agreed to come quietly. Had shootout with pair of low-life bounty hunters hiding in cliffs not too long after. Stars in custody now. Not taking them to Salt Lake. We'll hide them in Spring City. Friend there will help keep them safe for now. Matt. February 4th, 1885. My darling Matthew, thank you for your telegram. What bitter cold, dry winters they have out here in the West. It's no wonder you were unable to wire or write anything until now. I'm glad you've been snowed in rather than stranded out in the weather somewhere. That was what I originally feared until your telegram came. Mr. DeMille said this winter is beyond anything he's experienced, even by Utah's standards. I was so happy to hear that Lafayette Peterson convinced you to stay in Spring City for the holidays and that you were able to catch the stars before the first snow. Sam has been teasing me all winter that by now you've converted to Mormonism, and the reason I haven't heard from you is because you're still trying to determine the best way to introduce me to your other wives. That man is insufferable. Not even threatening to gouge his eyes out with my sewing scissors deterred him. It wasn't until Katie utterly refused to accompany him to Miss Lottie's New Year's ball that he finally relented. All fun aside, I don't mind that you didn't make the trip back to Frisco for Christmas or the New Year. It was too far. There was too much snow, and I didn't like the idea of my fiancé turning into a man-sickle any more than I liked the necessity of him spending the holidays with the beautiful star women. You say I have nothing to worry about, Matthew, but you must remember, I've seen the stars, and I know what they think of you. If my memory is correct, and I quote, "A finer specimen of manliness they've never beheld," unquote, is how they put it. Things have been rather quiet around Frisco since the snow set in. In fact, the only news to report is that Sheriff Pearson, or Sammy, as Katie has taken to calling him, has finally proposed. I sensed he was working up to it from the time he first visited me in jail. He kept stopping by our shop all through November and December on the pretense of needing more handkerchiefs, and gloves to send to his mothers and sisters for Christmas. After he'd ordered his 8th pair of gloves, however, I wondered if I wouldn't have to convince Katie to propose to him, just to put the poor man out of his misery. I must say, for a strapping, widely respected sheriff who has completely civilized one of the roughest towns in the West, he's rather tender-footed where courting ladies is concerned. But all is forgiven now, and the two of them are almost too adorable for their own good. In fact, I've begun to worry that if any outlaw passes through Frisco and happens upon Sam while he's cooing at my sister, Katie Bird, as he's taken to calling her, they won't believe a word about his reputation as a sheriff. Now for the more serious news. Over the past 2 months, Sam has shared with Katie and me a bit of what you'd told him concerning Captain Rigby. Not much mind. Said he didn't want to frighten us, bless him, but just enough to put us on our guard. I must say it was rather providential that he shared what he did when he did, especially since the infamous captain himself rolled into town not 3 days ago. He came to pay Mr. Gambit an obviously unexpected visit. Truly, I thought Gambit looked frightened when I broke that mirror over his mantel last year, but I saw absolute terror in his eyes when Captain Rigby stopped him on the main street just as he was leaving Honey Craven's diner. The reason I call this providential is because last night was Miss Lottie's grand opening of her latest vaudeville show, the one I told you about, her Valentine's Day masquerade. Katie and I have been working like mad to prepare for it since October, and it's all come together quite gloriously, as you'll see from the French fashion plates I've been using as inspiration. I know men don't tend to care for such things as fashion and whatnot, but you were always asking to see my sketches on our train ride from Chicago, so I thought I'd at least share my inspiration with you. Anyway, as I said, yesterday was Miss Lottie's grand opening, and Katie and I were at Le Petit Chateau, Versailles, making sure all the masks for the serving staff fit perfectly. I was just finishing up with Miss Caputo's, the baker's, mask. She's left her oven to help serve in the evenings during the busy season, when I saw Mr. Gambit come in, followed by Captain Rigby. I honestly don't know where I got the nerve to do what I did next, Matthew, but without a word, I slipped on Miss Caputo's mask, relieved her of her sweetbread basket, and sidled my way over to his table. I was in the process of serving heart-shaped sweet rolls to the table next to theirs when I overheard a conversation that has caused me to worry for you ever since. Mr. Gambit was sweating right through his necktie as he told the captain something about the silver being gone. He said he and his men, the ones the White Widow hasn't killed yet, have been out on Frisco Peak combing the mountains since July, but haven't found even a kernel of silver in any of the caves up there. At first I thought Sylvester was referring to the Horn Silver Mine, but then realized he couldn't be, because the mine was producing more silver than ever last I heard. That's when Captain Rigby, as cool as cream, told Gambit not to worry, that he'd already found the cave himself. Gambit looked marginally relieved at that, but then asked why he'd upped the bounty on the stars' heads then. Why not just call off the chase? Then Rigby told Gambit all he needed to know was the stars had Rigby's map, and he wanted it back. He said as soon as you, Matthew, got it for him, he might even show Mr. Gambit a little mercy and forgive his anything but trivial debts. At the mention of your name, I quickly began serving the sweet rolls to the table on the other side so I could hear them better. Mr. Gambit asked the captain if he was sure you weren't playing him for a fool. Gambit claimed that 2 of his men had a shootout with you and the stars at a place called 9 Mile Canyon near Price. His men told him that since Captain Rigby raised the bounty, they believed you and the stars were working together to double-cross Rigby. They were sure you were going to keep the stars' whereabouts secret until you saw just how much Rigby was willing to pay. Then, once you handed the stars over to him and got the money, you'd double-cross the captain by turning around and helping the stars escape. Then you'd all split the bounty between yourselves. I don't mind telling you, Captain Rigby got mighty angry after that. I was just settling down a sweet roll when out of the corner of my eye, I saw him grab Mr. Gambit by his necktie. He demanded that if Gambit wanted to live long enough to see Miss Lottie's new show, he better explain real careful why he believed you capable of such bamboozlement. That's when Gambit told the captain that all he meant was that you personally knew both Miss Lottie and her sister Lizzie, that you were too fine a Pinkerton to have been chasing the stars for so long without catching them, or at least discovering the familial connection between them. The captain laughed at that and released Gambit, straightened Gambit's tie, and told him that was true. It was all right, that double-cross or not. He knew just how to bring you and the stars galloping back to Frisco. When Gambit asked what he meant to do, Captain Rigby shrugged and simply said, "They stole my treasure, so now I'll steal theirs." I'm not sure what Rigby was referring to as far as treasure is concerned, Matthew, but my purpose in telling you about this is to warn you. Please don't hurry back to Frisco if Captain Rigby happens to threaten you. And if you can manage it, keep the stars away as well. I know this is their battle, but I spent enough time on the streets of New York to know murder in a man's eyes when I see it, and I fear I saw that very thing in the captain's eyes last night. All that matters to me is you stay safe. I know we've both wanted you to return to Frisco as soon as you can, but I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if you came and something happened to you because you hurried back for me. So please, darling, stay away until Sam can connect Gambit and Rigby with Mr. Snipe's scandal at the mine. He just needs a little more proof. It's only a matter of time before they slip up and he can finally use the law against them. Until then, I am sending you all my love. Yours most devotedly, Lily Clara.